Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and today we're making smoked duck confit. The first thing we're going to do with our duck is a cold smoke on the Yoder Smoker's pellet grill. Now this is not a traditional part of duck confit, but of course we love the smoking world, we love cooking outdoors, so we thought why not try to incorporate some smoke flavor. Now we got to get to our ducks and break them down. Chances are you're not going to find just duck legs at the grocery store, but that's what we're cooking with today. We're going to save the breasts for another recipe. So you're probably going to come across a whole duck, and if you can't find one at your local big box store, grocery store, whatever it is, check out the Asian markets. They usually have one. And I'm going to show you just real quick how to take the legs off the duck. So here's your whole duck. It's really built just like a chicken as far as taking apart goes, just the proportions are a little bit different. What I'm going to do is start down here with this excess fat and get rid of that, just to let me access the leg a little bit easier. And then I'm going to cut right in between where the breast meets the leg. Follow it back around to the backbone. And you guys can see this comes apart pretty easy. You'll find where that joint is, popped it right there. We're going to cut through that joint, right along this backbone. Try and get all that meat, that's really good meat right there, and separate it from the rest of the body. Really easy. Now traditionally, duck confit is cured before it's actually cooked. So we apply some salt and a little bit of pepper, draw some moisture out, and in the end, it would also sit submerged in the duck fat, and that was how they kept it preserved. Now, obviously, we don't need to worry about not having refrigeration throughout the summer like they may have way back in the day, but a lot of these techniques are really what makes the dish the flavor profile that it is. So we are still going to be applying salt and pepper, the salt to draw out some of that moisture, and we're going to do that now before we get it on the grill for the cold smoke. Then what we're going to do is let this sit overnight, and the moisture will continue to come out of the skin of the duck. Now what that allows us to do is really render the fat when we cook it tomorrow. All right, we're starting off with the smoked salt here. We'll go with a pretty generous layer. We're going to wipe all of this off before we cook it tomorrow. Then we'll hit it with the black pepper. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. You just scrape up some of this excess so we're not wasting it, leaving it behind. All right, let's head over to the grill. If you're wondering why we're doing a cold smoke today instead of a hot smoke, it's because we're using the smoke as a seasoning, not as a cooking technique. The cooking technique for this is confit, which means in its own fat. And we're going to do that tomorrow. I just want to impart some smoke flavor today. So let me show you the setup on the Yoder Smoker's YS640 Pellet grill and how we turn this into a cold smoker. We'll start by simply flipping the switch to the on position, and then instead of hitting start like we normally would, we're just going to leave it alone and let the fans run. To impart the smoke flavor, we're going to use our amazing smoke tube and fill it with some of our pecan and cherry pellets. So we'll slide this on the main cooking grate on the left side. Get in there with your torch and light the pellets. So now what's happening is we've got two fans down here that are forcing air through the pit. We've got the smoke right here that's going to move its way through the smoke stack at the end. So there's smoke constantly moving, but there's really very, very little heat coming off of these pellets. So this is what allows us to cold smoke. Now, if you were doing this when it's a little bit warmer out, say 60 or above, I would recommend putting a big pan of ice in the bottom just to keep the temperature down. It's only 1 hour that it's going to be in there, so you're really not risking any bacterial growth or anything like that. But just to keep things safe, you want to keep the temperature as low as possible. Today it's about 40, 45 degrees outside here in Wichita, Kansas, so I'm not worried about it. We place those duck legs on the second shelf away from what little heat is being produced, but right in the path of the smoke so they're ready to soak all that smoke flavor up. We'll be back in an hour to take them off. All right, these have taken on smoke for an hour now, so we're gonna take them off the grill. Still plenty cold to the touch. Now we're gonna let these cure overnight, but before we wrap them up, I wanna add a little bit more seasoning. We've got some fresh thyme, about a tablespoon of juniper berries. Get about 3 bay leaves. We're just gonna tear these up, spread them around. Then I'm gonna add 6 cloves of garlic, just crushed. And I'm not even worried about these skins. We're not gonna consume this, so we can leave the paper in there. It's not gonna hurt anything. All right, so let's just massage this around. Get a little on top, a little on bottom. Make sure this fits in here snug. We're going skin side down. And then wrap it up nice and tight with some plastic wrap. We'll give it the full cater wrap. Nice and tight. Nothing's getting in or out. And you want to place this in the fridge overnight up to 24 hours. Well, it's been about 20 hours since our duck originally went into the refrigerator, so we're ready to get into the cooking process today. We're gonna start off with the sear, and then it's gonna end up in a Dutch oven on the grill. But first, we've got to get some of that salt brushed off the surface, and then get this thing seared in the cast iron. All right, so we're gonna unwrap here and just start wiping off some of this excess, especially the salt. We don't want to have too much salt on the outside here. We are going to keep some of these seasonings around, some of this thyme, juniper and bay, the garlic. We're going to actually cook that with the duck, just so we can really pack the flavor in there. Before I sear this, I'm just gonna prick it with a knife. This is going to help the fat escape from the skin, and there's lots of fat in this skin. And this is just gonna let that fat out. This is the confit that we're talking about. We're gonna have to add some extra, but this will help to release the fat from underneath the skin. We've got the Lodge 7-quart Dutch oven. It's smoking hot. We're gonna put down some duck fat. Check and make sure this is hot enough. That's a good sound. All right, so we're not overcrowding. 4 is gonna be perfect. And we're going skin side down to start this out. Now this is just how I personally like to start the process. I like to get a little bit of sear on the skin because that Maillard reaction happens. You get the caramelization, you get a little bit of browning, and it just produces really great flavor. This isn't a necessary part of the process, but it does impart extra flavor. See, we're starting to get some really nice browning on here, nice texture. Beautiful. All right, this right here is about as far as you want to take it. Any further than that, and you're gonna have some bitterness left behind. So now I'm shutting the heat off. We're gonna add back the aromatics, the juniper, the thyme, the garlic, the bay leaves, and then we're gonna cover it in duck fat. Now, as you can see, quite a bit of duck fat's been rendered out of these already, but we're gonna add a little bit more. First, the aromatics. And then duck fat to cover. All right, I'm gonna cover this up, head to the grill. We're cooking our duck confit on a Yoder Smoker's YS640 Pellet grill today. It's set to 300 degrees. I'm gonna come back and start checking on this in about an hour and a half, although I expect it to take longer than that. What we're looking to do is break down that duck until it's super tender and just about wants to fall apart. It's about an hour and 45 minutes into this cook, and these are right where I want them. I wanna show you guys how we check for doneness. All right, you can see it's bubbling away here. And what I'm doing is I'm probing for doneness, much like I do with brisket or something like that. There's very little resistance here. If we're checking for temperature, it's gonna be far above where you would typically finish poultry. I mean, look, we're sitting at 200 degrees, but that's just fine. It's not losing any moisture. It's certainly not drying out sitting in that fat. Now here's a couple more things you can look for. See how that's pulled back from the bone? That's one sign that this is really done. You can see it at the other end on the thigh bone as well. All right, so it's super tender, but it's not falling apart. We could pull a little bit off of here. It's so good. You could totally eat this right now, and it'll blow your mind. I swear, people who think they don't like duck, they taste this, and it completely changes your mind about duck. But it's gonna get even better if we let it sit. I know this part sucks. You gotta wait 2 days. Just stick it in the fridge, let it mellow out. All those flavors are gonna meld. It's gonna get even better. So we're gonna wait 2 days. We're gonna pull it out of the fat. It's gonna leave it completely submerged for now. And when we dig it out of that fat, we're gonna crisp it up on a hot skillet. It's gonna be perfection. All right, the wait is over. It's time to get the duck confit out of the fat and sear it off in a hot skillet so we can get a taste. I've let this come up to room temperature a little bit to make this easier to get out. Now when this is in the fridge, the fat is really hard. And of course, when the fat is hot, it's completely liquid, so we're in the middle right now. There's one of our legs there. I'm just gonna leave this excess fat on and use it to sear. I'm gonna dress up some arugula to put underneath our duck confit. We're just gonna take a little bit of this hot duck fat, put that right over the top, a couple spoonfuls. Some lemon juice. Give that a toss. All right, so you check to see if the skin is ready to release. If it is, you can flip it. And this one's ready. Look at that color, beautiful. You check over here on this one, it's still stuck. So we're gonna wait. And we'll wait on that one as well. I'm just gonna throw the lid on here, and that should help to expedite the reheating process. Now, a couple of things about the duck fat from here. If you're not going to use all of the confit this time around, say you're saving some of that duck fat, what I would recommend doing is warming up all of the fat, everything that's in that pot, take out the solids, take out the thyme, the garlic, all of that, and strain off the fat. Now that fat is good. You want to keep it whether you're going to continue to store the confit or you're going to just use it again in the future. But what you can actually do is put your duck legs in a shallow container, say like a baking dish, cover it with the clean fat, all of the other stuff removed, and it'll stay like that in the fridge for a good 3 months if it's fully submerged, because it's covered. There's no oxygen in there, there's no room for the bacteria to grow. If you're only doing, say, 4 legs of duck, you're probably gonna eat it all at once, or pretty quickly. If that's the case, again, I would recommend heat it up, strain it off, get that clean fat, and put it in your fridge, set it aside. You're gonna wanna use that again in the future. All right, it's really softening up now. If I probe this, very little resistance. And of course, we're just looking to reheat. We're not cooking to a temperature right now, but it's at about 160 degrees in there. Let's get in here. Now this shouldn't take much to really pull apart. Oh yeah, super tender. Get a little bit of that skin, the crispiness on the outside. Look how juicy that is in there. Beautiful. It's like velvet in your mouth. And the flavors are incredible. It's really strange how the salt, it's almost melded with the herbs, like it's all one flavor. I mean, it's salty, but you're picking up on the thyme, the garlic, it's all there. I'm gonna encourage you one last time, if you think you don't like duck, give this one a go and see what you think. And if you got people in your family that think they don't like duck, you're gonna look like the man when you get this one right. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check the video description and the links to atbbq.com for the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below. And hey, let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to thesauce.atbbq.com. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.